That is bloody nasty. Ugh. Excuse the dressing gown. Yesterday, as usual in the UK, it was like 24 degrees, really nice and sunny and warm, and today it's gone back down to 13, so I feel absolutely freezing. So I've got my dressing gown back on, almost in the middle of April. But today's story is absolutely disgusting, and it's my worst nightmare as someone that has a phobia of throwing up and food poisoning. So this Ghanaian businessman called Stephen, I believe it's Stephen Akuako, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, has been done in by the local council and given a 2-year suspended jail sentence for food hygiene violations. So this man was supplying food, cooked fish, salted fish and ready meals to local businesses such as corner stores and apparently supermarkets as well. I believe he lives in Watford. And this is a really crazy situation. The council had his suspicions about his company, which was called Tribal Foods, but they couldn't actually trace back at first who owned it, where it was prepared, but they had their suspicions because in the UK we have environmental health. I believe in America the equivalent might be the FDA, I think. And they go around to different businesses, so restaurants, cafes, anywhere selling food, and they do inspections. And we also have a food hygiene rating system here. So there's a food hygiene register and you get a score between 0 to 5. And then usually the businesses that have 5 stars, they'll put the sticker in their business window because then you know they're clean, it's good and safe to eat there. But it's really good because they have a website where you can Google businesses on there. And I always do that before I'm going to eat anywhere new or order a takeaway. I will check the food hygiene because that has saved me a few times before, because then I've Googled these restaurants and I've seen they've got 1-star hygiene. I was so horrified. This is years ago. I'm talking back in 2015, 16. I used to eat at this like fry up little cafe that was in the shopping mall in Ealing. And I used to eat there all the time. They would give you a plate about that big for about 6-7 quid, a big fry up. And as a student, you're going to love that. Years later, they got shut down, and I thought, oh, I wonder what happened. I see a local news article. They got 0 stars in their food hygiene and were shut down immediately. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was eating there all the time. So that was horrific. So after that, I kept checking food hygiene ratings. Back on topic. I always go on my little tangents. Yeah, so environmental health was suspicious of this Tribal Foods business because they saw the food packaging had excessively long use-by dates, especially for something such as fish. You'll see if you buy fresh fish here in the supermarket, you're lucky if it's like used by in a week, but usually it's a few days. But they felt like the use-by dates on the products were suspiciously long, and also the food wasn't labelled correctly. And especially here, you have to be really strict about food labelling because of allergies. There's been quite a few cases when businesses such as Pret or Costa have been sued because people have died because the allergens were not labelled correctly. So that got their suspicions up. They were finally able to track him down, which is so crazy to me because his flat caught on fire. So he lived in a flat, I think it was like a housing association flat, which is similar to a council flat, but I think they're a bit more expensive. And there was a fire at his flat. The fire brigade attended, and then they found all this. Yeah, absolutely gross and disgusting. They found a load of fish in the bathtub, squalid conditions, and they became suspicious. But then his answer to them was it's fish for himself and his family. That's a lot of fish. And even if it is for himself and his family, still I would be like, you probably want to put those in the fridge, you're going to poison yourself. But he lied. So the fire brigade actually tipped off environmental health, and then they were able to investigate him and actually find he was the one that owned the Tribal Food, and went from there. But this is disgusting on so many different levels for multiple reasons. One, putting fish in a bathtub where you're probably washing your private bits and your feet and your armpits is disgusting. And also it's like, if all that fish was in his bathtub, where was he washing? Because you see how full the bathtub is. I'm like, was he not washing himself? That's gross. 2, it was literally right next to the toilet. And you know, if you flush the toilet without the lid down, sorry to be gross, but poop particles do go into the air. So there was most likely fecal matter going on top of those fish. Number 3, the fish is not refrigerated, and fish is a meat you really can't play about. Fish and chicken are especially dangerous if you get food poisoning from them, and you have to store them correctly. It's so easy to get poisoning from them if they're not stored or cooked correctly. And that sort of poisoning can kill you. People think it's just throwing up, bad tummy, diarrhea. No, severe food poisoning can actually kill you. It's a very, very, very serious matter. So the fish was not refrigerated. Number 4, the boxes of the fish were stored on the floor. Again, bathroom floor. Don't need to tell you how many disgusting germs and parasites and all of that are on the floor. They should have not been stored there. And then also the picture of his kitchen, so where he would have been prepping the meals. So even if the fish was refrigerated, the conditions were absolutely squalid. It looks like a hoarder's place. It's so disturbing that he was cooking meals for anyone there, let alone not just the businesses he was selling to, but even for himself and his family. It looks so, so dangerous. And the council did say in the court that the food was unfit for human consumption. So that is serious. And I forgot to add, when the council did first track him down, they served him a notice to stop operating immediately. And he carried on anyway. He carried on supplying the food. So that was very brazen. He did not take this investigation or incident serious up until really he pled guilty. And he had to plead guilty in the court because there was a lot of evidence against him. But he pled guilty and he got a 2-year suspended sentence, and he's banned from operating a food business for 5 years. But I think most likely after those 5 years, maybe even before, he's probably going to go back to it. Maybe not in the same way, but I don't see him quite hanging up his chef hat yet, because apparently before he owned a supermarket, and then legal issues from that made him lose a load of money, and he was homeless. This is what his lawyer has said. And then he set up this business to support himself. But I couldn't find anything, but it'd be interesting to know what the situation was with his previous supermarket and why did he have a big legal fight with that. There's many different types of food poisoning you can get. And when I looked it up, poor storage of this type of meat, such as fish, you can get salmonella, listeria, which is really, really bad, norovirus. So this is super serious. And I wonder if would they even be able to trace if anybody who did buy these products and ate these products, if they got ill from this or even died from this. It's really terrifying to me because, like I said before, it's slightly, and I say slightly, easier to avoid cafes and restaurants that have bad hygiene, because you do have the food hygiene register. But I've never thought about supermarket food, the fact that that could be, very unhygienic and we're buying it off the shelves. That's terrifying to me, because there's not really any way as a consumer to check where your supermarket food is coming from and how safely it's been stored. So that's what terrified me the most about this. If it was a restaurant, I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm a Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares fanatic, and there was just so many cases of unsanitary food storage. And I think a lot of restaurants are known. I mean, just have a look on TikTok. A lot of restaurants are known for having disgusting food storage, but to be selling to local supermarkets, that's so disturbing to me, because at least I just feel like I assume food from the supermarket is sanitary and correctly stored and comes from a supplier that has handled it correctly. And now I'm pretty freaking terrified. Even if I go, I don't know, Sainsbury's and buy some fish or meat off the shelf, how do I guarantee it hasn't been stored like this? And like I said before, I have an actual phobia of vomiting, and I remember when I was 18, I've had food poisoning a few times throughout my life, but when I was 18, I got a particularly bad one, and I think it was and this is why I won't use them anymore, those instant coffee machines, kind of like the Costa Express ones, and that was back when I used to drink milk. Now I only drink plant milks, and you get a latte and the milk comes out the machine. I think I got the poisoning from that, because oh my goodness, I was sick for a week. I was so close to going to hospital. I don't know why I didn't. I guess just being young and scared, but I should have gone to the hospital. For a week, I was suffering, couldn't even get down water. And I can just remember it now because it is the most horrible thing I've been through health-wise. And from that, I did actually develop, and I only found out years later, post-infectious IBS. Because I remember before that, my stomach was fine, I could eat most things. After that, so many things irritated my stomach, made me really ill. And then I looked into it later and I didn't realise you can actually develop IBS from food poisoning, so it can have a long-term impact. But that's why since then I'm so anxious about especially eating food out of the house. If I go to certain restaurants or takeaways, I have to make sure they're 5-star. And even then, it's tough because a 5-star rating is a snapshot. So maybe on that day they got 5 stars, but it doesn't mean they always operate at a 5-star standard. So you have to be really careful. And I find if I go to eat out, I tend to avoid ordering seafood. I'll order like red meat, order chicken, but just because of the back of my head, I know that seafood is really delicate and it's a lot easier to get poisoning from that. I don't like to have seafood that I haven't cooked. It makes me really nervous. So this isn't just a little, gross or weird story. It could have been really, really dangerous and life-threatening. So I'm glad that the council took it seriously and he did get prosecuted. I think he got off pretty light considering, though. I hope he learns his lesson from this and stays away from the food industry. But I'm really glad that he got caught and this was nipped in the bud before it could get worse. But it's absolutely diabolical. And that's why, especially Jamaicans, do say you can't eat at everybody's house. And I do get that. But like I said with this, how could you avoid it? Because you may not eat at other people's houses or restaurants, but everybody has to buy from the supermarket unless you're somehow 100% living off the land, growing your own crops and farming your own meat. You're going to have to buy from a supermarket. So this is terrifying, and I hope it's a one-off. I imagine they haven't obviously named the businesses that he sold to, but I imagine it was more local, small supermarkets, like the ones you see that tend to sell like African and Caribbean foods. I wonder if it was more that. I highly doubt it was Tesco or Sainsbury's. I don't know, but I'm assuming when they say he was selling to local supermarkets, it's more kind of the small scale, independent family run ones, which are even worse because especially the ones that are for like African, Caribbean, different countries' foods, they tend to get a lot of custom because it's nice to have somewhere to buy from that has your culture's food. So he was just poisoning these innocent aunties and uncles. It's diabolical. It's absolutely diabolical. But I wanted to share this one today because it gave me like a visceral reaction. I'm going to probably be off fish for a little while now. Fish already scares me, but now I'm like, okay, it can stay far away from me. But yeah, this is diabolical. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you heard of similar stories like this? Have you known a business that operates like this? I want to hear it all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, and it would be great if you could subscribe. See you in the next one.